Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of the Positive Switch podcast. Today, I thought I would talk about a personal experience, a personal professional experience that I made beginning of 2018 and ending in October 2019. It was my first official job, I would say, like where I used to get a quite okay salary and working in an agency with coworkers and carrying the responsibility towards the clients of delivering a service and checking that everything was okay and writing invoices and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was like the first official job, I would say. I had accumulated a couple of jobs experiences before that. I gave language classes in my former high school and also at the university I was studying in English. And I also work like, the kind of summer jobs that a lot of students do in France, where you just work in a factory. And the one I was in, it was like frozen pastries and stuff. So I would get a lot of ice cream. But yeah, the disgusting point is that it wasn't vegan. I wasn't vegan at that point. And yeah, it was the result of a disgusting separation of a mother and her baby and sexually abusing her and taking the milk for grown-up humans who don't need mother milk, and especially not from another species. So yeah, that were some experiences that I had. And then in 2018, at the end of my master's degree, basically, I had to make this experience of having an internship in a translating kind of job. So I wasn't really actually translating anything. I just did some translations during my internship in this company. And then I went on to become a project manager. So if you've never heard of that job, there are project managers basically, I think, in a lot of companies, almost in every single company, because somehow you have to plan some meetings, you have to plan some projects. So you need someone who is in charge of a specific project. And in the business of translation, sometimes even among the project managers in the translation sector, you have different kinds of project managers who are more or less involved in the process of the translation. As far as I was concerned, I wasn't really involved in the translation part, but I would have sometimes to review or just like have a quick look at a translation when it was done. But my main job was to make offers for the clients, interesting offers, so that they would buy and become a new client maybe, or stay a client of ours. And then once this offer was confirmed, I would have to look for the appropriate translator in the right field of the translation. So it could have been something legal or more economic related or something more scientific and so on. There are like so many different fields, just as there are different types of documents. And then I would give the project to that translator and say, you have that many days. Are you interested? And also sometimes you can kind of, what's the word? Handle? Not handle. Bargain? What's verhandeln?
Verhandeln
of English.
is negotiate.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes, thank you. Sometimes you can negotiate the prices with the translator because, of course, the goal of a company is to make enough margin so that the company has a good was ist Umsatz? I'm losing all the words that I had learned at university. Yeah, basically everything that you've gained, it's not the profit, but everything all the money that you made at the end. And yeah, I think before you pay the employees and the costs, the fixed costs and all the other costs that you have, that amount of money, that's what I'm talking about. So of course you want to make enough margin so that you make enough money for the company. And yeah, so sometimes I would have to negotiate with translators, and then when they're done with the project, they deliver the finished product. I maybe quickly look at it and check that everything is okay, and then I deliver the final product to the client. And that was not something for me. That was really, really stressful. There were times, I won't lie, there were times where I felt more confident, where I was kind of even feeling I was getting good at it. But then I noticed how this kind of job was just not in alignment with my values, because you have so much pressure that sometimes you tend to kind of go out of the way, like to kind of remove yourself from your values so that the goal is only money for the company. And so it's even to the point that you feel good when you kind of not lie to people, but like you feel good basically when you can get all the profit that you can, when you can get all the money that you can for a project for your company. Like when you create big margins, even at the cost of some translators not having a lot of money at the end of the project, because you are like constantly pushed to make more money. And that's that's the world we live in. That's the capitalist society that we live in. And I think it's terrible that people like feel pushed to kind of just drift away from their values, where they're kind of ready to get involved in some sort of corruption, and yeah, just for the sole purpose of making money. So it's really, it kind of, let's put it that way, it fucks up with your values. And when I noticed that, plus when you add to that the fact that you're not, let's say you're not in a great contact with your coworkers, it's not the best atmosphere. And also as a vegan, it's very difficult, I will say, as a vegan to find a job that doesn't contradict with your values, where like everything about the job is ethical. It's very hard. And especially when you have colleagues that talk about the butchered bodies of animals the whole time that they are going to cook in the evening or something like that, about when you have colleagues that talk like that look forward to going to animal prisons, going to zoos, taking their children there, and are almost like so proud of it. When you're constantly in that kind of work atmosphere, it's really kind of taking a toll I think it's taking a toll on your mental health. And yeah, that plus the stress, And basically I felt like I was in a prison. You are really depending on the job, because first, if you live like in a city that's quite expensive, where the costs are expensive, like I was living in Düsseldorf in Germany, then you have no way out almost, and you have this salary that allows you to pay for your bills and pay for your rent. And even though you know at the end of the month there's like almost nothing left for you, well, you stay in the comfort zone because you are afraid that you're not going to find another job. You're not going to find a job where you have a salary that's pretty decent. And yeah, you don't know if you're going to be able to find something that's maybe more ethical, or it's a lot of doubts there. And basically I was waking up at around 6, so it's like this kind of job from 9 to 5 where you're depending on all the orders that you receive from your superior, and sometimes the shit just hits the fan, and like you don't expect something to happen, and there like suddenly there's this big project that was kind of in standby, and then this project is accepted, and then you have like 2 weeks to achieve this, and you don't have enough translators who can work on it. It's like really, it can really fuck with your mind. And yeah, so 9 to 5, and for me it was actually 9 to 6. So I was working, I think, 40 hours per week. And I just noticed how a huge lot that was, because I basically barely had any time for me left during the week. The only thing I could do was do the groceries and then some activism. And in the morning I would just like wake up super early so that I was sure I could get some time for myself to relax before actually getting into that stressful atmosphere. So I only had like 2 hours to do something with my own life, with my personal life and passions and interests. And then when you come back in the evening, you're basically so like drained from all that stress and sometimes the negative energy there, that you basically have like no motivation for whatsoever. I would say I was doing pretty okay, like given that it was such a shitty atmosphere. Sometimes I really have to admit, I kept myself busy. I was doing a lot of yoga, I was doing some bouldering, and activism really played a huge role, I would say, because obviously I met my boyfriend there, and it was, this allowed me basically to stay healthy in my mind, and to know not to just basically burn out. And I think if I would have stayed there, I would definitely had gotten a burnout. So what happens is, I basically, the contract ran out, it was over, and I was really like just full of doubts, and I didn't know where to go, what to do. Should I stay? Should I leave? Because I know I was deeply just so disappointed and unsatisfied with that job. But it's quite comfortable, so you're kind of attracted to say yes and to stay, although you're not gonna get a really much higher salary. You're still going to be paid quite crap. And even that salary, I wasn't even satisfied with the salary I was having there. And still I just kept working, and until the chance was there, it was like reaching me, the contract is over, you can get out of this prison and you can decide what you do with your future. And I think this is a point where you choose between what society expects from you and what you truly feel that you want, what you want in your life. And I knew I knew like already years ago that my dream is to be financially independent. I don't want to get in any orders because it just feels so crappy to be told the whole time what you have to do and in which conditions, and that you should always be polite and smile and this and you can't make any mistakes, and otherwise you might lose in like just one shot maybe thousands of euro for a company. And if you do any mistake, and it happened to me in that company, like there is just so much pressure. And I knew, okay, it's also hard to be self-employed, and there definitely are some drawbacks to it, but it's, you are responsible for yourself, and you are much more free than you would be in any company where you are tied to the superior's decisions, and you are tied to the same co-workers the whole time, and you can hardly influence that. But when you're self-employed, you choose with which person you want to work and under which conditions, and you have the responsibility to organize basically everything and to take care of your invoices and so on. So actually, after I decided not to stay in that company, and I think the last day at that company was like, it was the blessing. It was the confirmation, you have to leave. Like, there's no way I'm going to stay there. Basically, to give you a whole picture, the last day, I was basically like, basically showing my successor, let's call it, the person who was going to be in charge of all my tasks, all my responsibility. I showed this person everything what she had to learn, and with the clients, and how to handle the different projects and so on. And I had been talking about veganism with that person, and this person was seemingly quite open to the topic and open and could relate how it doesn't make sense to feed your baby with the mother milk of another species and to exploit other beings for that. And the last day, basically everyone ordered something. We were delivered something to eat from an Asian restaurant. And after all the hopes I had, all the faith I had in that person, this same person decides to eat the dismembered body of a duck. She orders the dismembered body of a duck to eat on that day, where we're kind of celebrating my departure. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, do people actually learn? Do they actually have a heart still, or a brain? And I remember on that day, I had to just go to the toilet and cry, like so much of hatred and anger and frustration, disappointment in human beings in general. I had no faith left whatsoever, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to keep work. How could I even keep working there with people like staying in this conditioned mind and thinking that their life depends on exploiting other species? It was just such a nonsense, and that was making me sick, and I could feel it. There were days where I felt so sick, and where I had like some of the biggest headaches I had never had, although I was eating fine and my diet was on point. But I definitely feel like at some point your body sends you the signals and the messages that you should leave a job, that otherwise there's no way you're gonna make it mentally or physically. And so after I left, I actually could I had how is it called? I was unemployed, so I would get an allowance, I guess. Like you just get money from the state, because I had worked for 1 year in total, so I would get for 6 months like half of my salary, so that I could just survive basically. And since where I'm living now with my boyfriend, it's just so much less expensive than in Düsseldorf. I could afford it so easily. It was just like no biggie, really no pressure, and I still was able. I was even able to save more money than I used to be able to save with my previous job. So that's just to give you an idea of how crappy my salary was there. And yeah, so basically now in May, I think, yeah, in May of this year, 2020, I stopped receiving the money from the state as an unemployed. And then that was where I decided to become self-employed. And ever since making that choice, I realized it's one of the best choices of my life. Of course, going vegan is like at the top. And I think then comes meeting my boyfriend, or like being in a relationship with him. And then comes deciding to be self-employed. And let me tell you why. Of course, you have to take into consideration many things. The place where you are living, that will determine like how much you have to pay for a rent, and how expensive, how like life expenses are here in general. And here in this city where we're living, the rents are generally much lower for an apartment than in Düsseldorf. And I have such a big apartment. I mean, we have so much space, and I pay like the total rent that we pay with my boyfriend together is almost what I was paying just for myself in Düsseldorf. So now this makes such a huge difference already. And then we also have to take into consideration that we don't pay for fresh produce like veggies and fruit, and sometimes like hummus and other things, because we get them from food sharing. So if you don't know food sharing, maybe you have the luck to have a food sharing organization. It's a non-profit organization that's in Germany at least, and in Scotland. And basically my boyfriend's mom actually rescues foods from supermarkets that would otherwise be tossed to the trash from the supermarkets. So like perfectly fine foods, perfectly fine passion fruits and pineapples and pears and oranges and apples and whatever you want, like everything is so perfect, and it's being tossed to the trash. And like in the whole world, I think it's about like 1/3. Yeah, 1/3 of all the food that's produced is like just thrown away. It's just so disgusting to even think about it. But that, of course, allows us to live so minimalistically, in such a minimalist way. And I'm so thankful for that. And so, yeah, how does it work now? Basically, when you become self-employed, it's like you have to go to the tax organization, like the tax institution of your city or wherever, and you have to file like to fill up some kind of form, yeah, to sign just this form, and then you give it there. And then it's like basically at the end of the year, if you have an accountant, or I think it's an accountant, wait, is it, or a tax supervisor? I don't even know the name for that job. Basically a person that you give your invoices to, and this person like is in contact with the tax institution, and then at the end of the year you know how much taxes you have to pay and how much you can get back from the state, also for expenses that you had as a self-employed, which you can deduct. I think, yeah, that's deduct, like you can just take it off your expenses. Yeah, so it's just such, for me it's the perfect way of living and working. That's what comes closest to what my actual dream is, to become financially independent. Now, like, I don't go to work every day because it's really diverse. Some day I maybe have no work, and then another day I give 2 classes online, and maybe I work with actually like a language school that gives tutoring for students, and then I go to give a class there, and then I come back home and I give an online class, or just like a simple conversation in English or French, which is a service, because beforehand I would prepare something, I would prepare the class, and there is the material, like what I'm using, all the different logistics kind of stuff, and technology that I have to use. So it's just like different factors that come into play, and then I basically give a service, and then in exchange I get money from my clients, and I just make them invoices, and at the end of the month I send all my invoices to my clients, and then I basically have enough money to cover all my costs. I can save some money too, and it's just everything bonus. There is nothing unethical about my job. I have so much enjoyment from my job, from working with children and with students. I have like some great students, I must say, and I just, yeah, it's also like you feel you're actually helping many people who just want to improve their language skills, and it's a great feeling of just, yeah, helping out people and seeing how they improve and how they're just becoming independent with a language, and being able to have a conversation with someone, and they can basically go all by themselves in a country and speak in French or English, thanks to you, and that you worked together to improve that. So it's yeah, a really good feeling. Like I said, nothing unethical about my work. It's just about giving classes, and I use my secondhand laptop, and sometimes my secondhand phone if I have to. There is no harm done to anyone. I don't have to deal with stupid coworkers and negative energy. I decide when I wake up, and then when I go to sleep, I can work and have a tea at my side at the same time, or make me a coffee, or make me a little snack. It's so, yeah, there's just so much more freedom in this kind of job, and there is nothing that I regret from my former job. Now I realize that I would never want to go back to such a job. That basically it like robs so much of your time, then you have no time left for your friends, for your family. You are almost depressed. In many cases, a lot of people are depressed from their job. They go into burnout. They get into alcohol or other drugs. And it's just like, just think about it. Like at the end of your life, you will have spent more time in a job that you didn't like as spending time with your family and friends and doing something that you like. It's just, for me, it's so saddening that not more people realize this. That, and plus, something that Mark and I have realized is that the majority of people would rather exchange their lifetime for money as having more time to spend with their family. Like most people on this planet are just like always rushing to, or like pursuing money and material things, wanting a bigger car or a bigger apartment or more clothes or whatever, you name it. So they are ready to sacrifice most of their time just for that money that will get them the dream car or the dream house or whatever. I know they would rather do that than have just enough money to be happy, to survive, to cover their costs, and have time left to spend with their family and having the most precious time that they can have doing something that they like. It's almost killing me, this thought that this is the reality we live in. And I think that's an illusion that people are living in, because they're not living up to their true standards, that they're not living up to their values, and they're basically not living up to their own truth. And it's just really saddening. But I hope that somehow this episode can maybe inspire you or someone to really make a decision that makes sense in your heart, to go for the job that makes you vibrate, make you go for the job that truly like gives you thrills, and where you're excited about just with the thought of driving to that job, or maybe becoming self-employed yourself. And just doing really what fuels you, what vibrates in you, and not going to a job where you get like some kind of belly aches and headaches, and just basically feeling bad just at the thought of going to your job. That's already a sign that that's a crappy job for you, and it's not done for you at all. So just be aware of how you feel, be aware of the signs that are out there, that the universe is sending you, or whatever you believe in. Pay attention to the signs and ask yourself, am I really meant to stay in that crappy or not decent job just to make money, and not being able to serve the world with a better purpose? Just ask yourself the right questions. And when you notice that it's the right time, don't be scared. Don't be scared about whatever might happen, and am I going able to have enough money? And I know it's easier said than done, and especially in the times we are living in now, where it's mostly unsure. But whatever you're meant to be, whatever you're meant to do, when you go on that path, when you go in that direction, then everything will fall into place. If you stay in a job that's not meant for you, you will keep getting the signs. And when you're on the right way, like everything will just come at you, and everything will just be there for you, will come at the right time, because it's your purpose. It's where you're supposed to go, and yeah, I think nothing and no one can stop you from doing what you're meant to be doing. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening or watching this episode today and staying with me. I hope that will give you some food for your thoughts, and don't hesitate to just exchange with me, to get in touch, whether it's on Instagram, YouTube, wherever, and maybe leave a review if you are looking also for English classes or French classes for beginner. If you're looking just for conversational classes, please just get in touch as well. I will be really happy to help you improve, and I will tell you that I love you, that I'm sure everything will fall into place for you. Trust the universe, trust the science, be true to yourself, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.